All right, let's just get right into it. The first thing you need to do is forget pretty much everything you've ever seen on TV about crime scenes. Seriously, because in the real world, crime scene investigation has totally changed. Today, you'd be hard-pressed to find a crime that doesn't have a digital dimension to it.
And this picture really says it all, doesn't it? It's not just about dusty footprints and fingerprints anymore. Now that laptop, the phone sitting on the desk, even the Wi-Fi router in the corner, all of that is part of the crime scene. Each one could be holding a gold mine of evidence. We're talking emails, photos, web history, you name it.
So, you're probably picturing them firing up the laptop, clicking around, looking for clues, right? Just like in the movies. Well, the reality could not be more different.
The truth, just turning on a computer that's part of an investigation is basically the digital equivalent of stomping through a crime scene with muddy boots. You could change timestamps, wipe temporary files, you could destroy critical evidence without even knowing it. So, the real first rule of digital forensics is kind of wild. You do absolutely nothing. At least, not until you have a plan.
And that plan is built on a rock-solid foundation. We're talking about 4 golden rules. Now, these aren't just some casual suggestions. They come from a super respected guide from the UK's Association of Chief Police Officers, or ACPO. Think of it as the investigator's code.
Let's break them down real quick. First, and this is the big one, change nothing. The #1 priority is to keep that evidence exactly as it was found. Second, if you have to access the original device, you better be an expert who can explain and justify every single click in court. Third, record everything. You have to create an audit trail so detailed that another expert could follow your steps and get the exact same results. And fourth, the buck stops here. At the end of the day, one person, the lead investigator, is responsible for making sure these rules are followed perfectly. It's all about integrity.
So with that code of conduct practically memorized, the real investigation kicks off. But it doesn't start at the scene. Nope. It starts way before, with some serious planning.
Yeah, this is not a grab your coat and go kind of job. First, you've got to get the legal paperwork sorted, like a search warrant. Then you do your homework. What kind of computers are we talking about? Is the suspect a tech genius who might have hidden data or set traps? And you assemble your toolkit, which is way more than just a laptop. We're talking specialized hardware, evidence bags, cameras, the whole shebang. You have to be ready for anything.
Okay, now we're on scene. And the first thing that happens is a slow, careful survey. The whole point here is to spot every possible piece of digital evidence without touching a single thing.
And that's because evidence can be anywhere. It's not always the big desktop computer. It could be a smartphone, a tablet, a smartwatch. Literally, a whole crime scene can fit right in your pocket.
But then, you could be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You might walk into a corporate office and find yourself looking at entire racks of servers. The scale can get absolutely massive, and every single piece has to be identified.
And while they're doing this survey, documentation is king. They are photographing everything right where they found it, in situ. They're sketching out how all the devices are connected. They make a detailed list of every single item. And you better believe they're looking for the simple stuff too, like a sticky note with a password on it. What they're doing is creating a ground truth, a perfect snapshot of that scene, frozen in time.
So once everything is documented, we move into the next critical phase, preservation. This is where things get really intense, because investigators have to make some big, high-stakes calls to protect all that digital evidence they just found.
And this brings us to what might be the biggest dilemma in all of digital forensics. You walk in, the computer is on and running. What do? Do you pull the plug? It seems simple, but oh, it's not.
It's a massive trade-off. See, if you keep it on, you might be able to capture what's in the computer's memory, the RAM. That stuff is incredibly valuable. It could contain passwords, encryption keys, you name it. But there's a risk. A program could be running that's designed to wipe data. On the other hand, if you pull the plug, you perfectly preserve the hard drive, but all that precious data in the RAM, poof, it's gone forever. There's no single right answer. It's a judgment call every single time.
So how do they actually analyze the data without breaking that #1 rule of change nothing? Well, the short answer is they don't. They never work on the original evidence. Instead, they use specialized hardware like this to make a perfect copy.
This copy is called a forensic duplicate, or an image. And when I say it's a copy, I mean it's an exact bit-for-bit clone of the original drive. It gets everything, even the stuff you've deleted.
From this point on, all the analysis, all the digging, it all happens on this copy. The original evidence gets bagged, tagged, and locked away, completely untouched.
Now, all these procedures might sound a little extreme, but there's a huge reason for all of it. This isn't just about being tidy. It's about whether or not a case will even hold up in court. And when these steps get skipped, the results can be, well, disastrous.
Take the civil case between Monsaid and Samsung. Samsung failed to save some important emails. Because that evidence was just gone, the judge told the jury, hey, you are allowed to assume that whatever was in those missing emails would have been bad for Samsung's case.
And that assumption? It cost them. The jury ordered Samsung to pay over $500,000 just in the other side's attorney's fees. That's a huge financial penalty, all for not preserving digital evidence the right way.
And it's not always about money. In the criminal case, U.S. versus Kerry, an investigator had a warrant to look for drug evidence on a computer. Well, he found something else entirely. The problem was, he started searching for that evidence, which went way beyond what his warrant allowed. And because of that procedural mistake, the conviction was completely overturned. The evidence was there, but the case just fell apart.
Look, it's pretty clear this whole field is moving at lightning speed. Think about it. Our cars, our homes, our watches, they're all getting smarter and more connected. The digital crime scene isn't just a room with a computer anymore. It's expanding into the cloud, onto all our devices, everywhere. Which leaves us with a really fascinating and maybe even a little scary question. In a world like that, where does the crime scene actually end?